150th birthday of the railways was celebrated in 1980 at Rainhill, near Liverpool, and was memorable not just for the grand locomotive parade, but also for the unique journeys that some of the engines made to get to Rainhill. The longest trip was made by Maud, all the way from Scotland. This North British Railway veteran stopped at Blackburn to take coal and water, in the unfamiliar territory of the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway. The Victorian atmosphere of the station made a perfect setting for Maud as she set off with her two period coaches for the last leg of her journey to Rainhill. Another rarity on the main line was Lion, originally of the Liverpool and Manchester Railway, and the oldest working locomotive in the world, dating from 1838. Lion was hauling two replica period carriages, an open third, no more than a coal truck with benches, and a first-class saloon showing its origins in the age of the stagecoach, with a postillion's perch at the rear. Crowds at Wigan Station could hardly believe the sight of this museum piece, brought back to life by the efforts of the Ruston Company, who restored the engine to working order. A complete train of the 1840s on the main line was a unique rarity, reminiscent of the coloured prints in early Victorian books. Lion's coupling rods bowled up and down with ease as she entered Earlstown, the last original Liverpool and Manchester station to survive. The assembly point for the parade was at Bold Colliery. Here, replicas of the contestants in the 1830 locomotive trials, Novelty and Sans Pareil, had place of honour amongst their more modern successors from the age of steam. Sans Pareil, the words mean literally without equal, was designed to challenge Stephenson at the Rainhill trials. This handsome-looking engine, despite its sturdy appearance, unhappily failed to raise enough steam to pull more than its own weight. Bold colliery sidings, having swept aside its normal clutter of coal trucks, looked like a mainline steam shed, and played host to an army of volunteers who spent 3 solid days and nights nurturing their charges for the grand parade. Hardwick, as befits a former Royal train engine, was thoroughly cleaned underneath as well. Some of the replica rolling stock had a final retouch of paint. The famous Midland compound was just one of over 40 famous engines present. Unfortunately, the track work at Bold wasn't used to so many heavy engines and spread badly, causing the replica rocket to derail and damage a wheel. Rocket couldn't be repaired in time, and Lion had to take its place. For Mike Sarto, who had worked so hard on building the replica rocket, it was a sad moment, as he bravely wished Lion's driver better luck. Lion too had problems with the track and had to be gently eased over the points as everyone held their breath. Meanwhile, the crowds eagerly awaiting the parade were unaware of the tensions in the yard. Eventually, Lion appeared with the opening train, and the Rocket 150 parade was underway. Bearing the Royal Train head code, the London and North Western Railway engine Hardwick was next in the parade with the Royal Saloon from York Museum. The saloons conveyed Sir Peter Parker, the genial and popular chairman of British Rail, who showed his enthusiasm by planting a kiss on the carriages, much to everyone's delight.
Our celebration of 50 for the next 3 days. We in the railway community derive our confidence to celebrate 150th birthday.
Next in line was the elegant Midland single, known as the Spinner, dating from the 1870s. Alan Pegler, well known as the man who rescued Flying Scotsman, was official commentator for the event.
And more is interesting because this was a locomotive that served overseas in the First World War. Then the next one to come along is number 5000, the LNS Black 5. Then it is hauling in steam and surrounded by people in appropriate costume, the replica of Novelty. Although it has got steam up, as you can see, it doesn't raise a great deal of steam. The other locomotive there, the Earl, is from the Welsh Light Railway in Wales, which is one of the locomotives forming the consortium of the Grateful Trains of Wales. The headboard, the 13809, the Somerset and Dorset one is carrying the Hines Express, the sort of train that used to run from Manchester down to Bournemouth, and used to use the Somerset and Dorset joint line, which was rather rudely called by some people the slow and dirty jerky S&DJ. Well, now coming along is the Sylvan cast, hauling 2 Great Western coaches.
Another famous loco at the parade was an LMS Jubilee class.
Coming on behind, a school's class, a very well-known class for those who live down in the South East. Now this locomotive again is part of the National Collection.
Green Arrow from the York Railway Museum represented the LNER along with Flying Scotsman. The signalman at Rainhill had never seen anything like it.
And there goes Planline with the golden arrow symbols, looking simply splendid.
Odd man out at the parade was Robert, the National Coal Board's own engine at Bold Colliery, a bright green livery replacing its normal coat of grimy black. After the parade was over, Bold Colliery once more resumed its role as a steam shed. The LMS was well represented here with a spinner, a Pacific and the Midland compound, receiving an unwelcome dose of coal dust on its gleaming paintwork. The proceedings were slightly marred by a collision involving Hardwick, who suffered a badly bent buffer beam at the hands of a Lancashire and Yorkshire tank engine while the locos were returning to the yard. Fortunately, it was repairable. In fact, the job was done overnight for the next day's parade. The lanky tank stood on the next track, slightly embarrassed at its own strength. Better news was that Rocket, star of the show, had been repaired, and next day took its proper place at the head of the parade of engines in this unique and memorable event. Many of the locomotives that appeared at Rainhill came from the National Railway Museum at York. Although most of the exhibits here are static in the former locomotive roundhouse, some of them are steamed for special events. Being prepared here are the Midland compound and Hardwick for a special run to Carnforth in 1977 to celebrate the centenary of the Settle to Carlisle Railway. The crest of the London and North Western Railway adorns the splasher of Hardwick, now well over 100 years old. She attracts the admiration both of the new generation, who never knew steam, and also those who knew it well. Number 1000, the Midland compound, was specially chosen as she used to work over the Settle and Carlisle. The locomotives could not run as far as Carlisle on this trip, as the line had not been passed for steam running at that time, so they had to divert to Carnforth. At York Station, there was reenacted for the rail van the rare sight of a double-headed departure. One of the attractions en route was the viaduct at Knaresborough over the River Nid. Between Skipton and Hellifield, on part of the old Midland Railway route, the engines were cautiously opened up a bit to keep time. The small station of Long Preston was used as a watering stop and gave the fans a chance to photograph this rare combination of engines. The summit of the Carnforth line is at Giggleswick, where the two engines had to be worked quite hard. The next year, 1978, saw the relaxation of the steam ban on the Settle to Carlisle route, and hundreds of fans turned out in the appalling weather so typical of the area to see the first steam train to cross Ribble Head in 10 years. Green Arrow was the locomotive chosen for the event, and sure-footedly lifted her 11-coach load over the 1 in 100 gradient without a trace of slip. hardy rail fans were determined to get the most out of the day and moved off to the summit of the line at Aysgill for Green Arrow's return run. The local country lanes were blocked solid for miles with visitors' cars as Green Arrow made it to the summit. A photo stop was made at Dent, formerly the highest station in England, now closed. Green Arrow could now be studied in detail, showing off the meticulous care of the York Railway Museum who restored her. The next steam run on the line was with Evening Star in May 1978. Evening Star was the last steam locomotive to be built for British Railways in 1960 and has also been preserved by the National Railway Museum in York and is part of the National Collection. This is Dandry Mire Viaduct, on the highest section of the line, between Garsdale and Aysgill. The summit of the line at Aysgill, again in typical Cumbrian weather, is the best place to see southbound workings in action, as this is the final stretch of the 1 in 100 gradient known as the Long Drag, all the way from Appleby, 20 miles away, without a break. Hard work for the firemen. Another of the magnificent Midland Railway viaducts, this time at Arton Gill near Dent. In the summer of 1978, a private tour ran with the famous Flying Scotsman. Alpine owns this engine, and his wooden Great Northern Saloon was also on the train. The most impressive structure on the line is the famous Ribblehead Viaduct at Batty Moss, with its high arches soaring across the moors in spectacular style. Alas, the cost of maintaining it is the principal cause of the impending closure of the route, and before it deteriorated too far to carry locomotives, an intensive programme of steam tours was organised over the scenic line. Here is Evening Star again, catching the September sunshine in 1978. Once more, smoke can be seen in the tunnel vents, heralding the approach of Flying Scotsman in the beautiful Dale of Dent. A sad occasion in September 1978 was the ceremony held at Appleby Station to mourn the passing of Bishop Tracy, the well-known railway photographer who died at the line side while photographing Evening Star. A plaque was unveiled by Lady Tracy on the platform. The service was attended by the bishops of Carlisle and Leeds and an enormous crowd of well-wishers. Evening Star, the late bishop's favourite loco, then steamed slowly in to take the official party back to Carlisle. Clan Line, the former Southern Railway Pacific, was used to head the second Lord Bishop's special back to Leeds. Many other locos have used the route since then. Sir Nigel Gresley, the LNER A4, has been a regular visitor and is here passing the railway cottages at Garsdale on a southbound Cumbrian mountain Pullman. The A4 stopped at the closed station of Garsdale to take water, and soon one could witness a rare recreation of the classic railway scene of the passing of two expresses in different directions. The second train is hauled by the King Arthur class loco, Sir Lamiel, owned by Mr. Draper of Hull. Steam tours on this line are normally operated by the Steam Locomotive Operators Association, whose marshals supervise the photo stops en route. The train is ready to leave, and Sir Lamiel, far from its home on the Southern Railway, accelerates away towards Carlisle. Appleby, one of two remaining stations on the line still open, is the scene of another photo run past for the fans. Our final glimpse of steam in the Cumbrian Fells is of Flying Scotsman, climbing to Aysgill through the sunset on the line that soon will be no more than a memory.
On June the 12th, 1983, the Birmingham Railway Museum celebrated the 75th birthday of the old Great Western Railway depot at Tyseley with a special open day. To mark the occasion, a new station was opened, a perfect replica of a typical West Country wooden halt. In addition to a full turnout of the museum's stud of GWR locomotives, guest engine, the Lady Armadale, made a special visit from the Severn Valley Railway. The largest loco present was the museum's famous Clun Castle, holder of the speed record on the Plymouth Run. Her elegant lines and impressive sound make even a bit of carriage shunting seem like an express departure. But the stars of the day were the pannier tank engines. These familiar workhorses of the old Great Western used to appear all over the system, and no engine shed was complete without them. For years they did shunting and branch line work. A more powerful version was used for banking on the Lickey incline. When British Railways had finished with them, several ended up in the unlikely colour of London Transport Maroon, for use on works trains on the District and Metropolitan lines. They usually ran at night, but the Sunday morning stores train from Lillie Bridge to Northfields was a happy exception for the enthusiast. The train climbs westbound away from Hammersmith beside the disused London and South Western Railway viaduct on the old Addison Road to Richmond route, over which the Great Western used to have running powers. Our ex-GWR loco exercises these same powers as today's district line joins the original alignment as far as Turnham Green. On arrival at Northfields, the grimy old pannier makes odd company for the smart electric tube trains all around. The panniers were also used for the rather demeaning task of carting London Transport's rubbish to a dump by the canal at Croxley on the Watford branch. The panniers survived the end of steam on British Railways by 3 years, with Neasden Depot becoming a minor mecca for London steam fans. They became so popular that when London Transport decided to retire them in 1971, a special last run was made with number L94 over the city-widened lines of the Metropolitan Railway. In early steam days, the line was originally operated by the Great Western, and it was historically perfect that an ex-Great Western loco, as the train disappeared into the smoky tunnels towards King's Cross, It seemed as though the much-loved panniers really had ended their days, but fortunately many of them escaped the scrapyard and were bought by preserved railways and museums. One of the former London transport engines went to Bridgnorth for service on the Severn Valley Railway, another went to Quainton Road in Buckinghamshire, and a third to the Worth Valley Line in Yorkshire. The Birmingham Railway Museum took two of them, including L94, the engine used on London Transport's last steam run. It was this engine, fully restored as Great Western Railway number 7752, that took the honours as star loco for the Tyseley celebrations. 7752 wasn't actually a Swindon loco, but part of an order farmed out to the North British Company in 1930. Pride of the museum's carriage collection is this Great Western saloon, recently restored in the old company livery. The Birmingham Railway Museum is laid out on the site of Tyseley Steam Locomotive Depot, which was closed in 1966, followed by demolition of the shed buildings. While most of the original track work remains and has been restored, the present buildings were purpose-built by the museum, founded in 1969, to facilitate repair and storage of the rolling stock. Operating procedures are strictly observed at Tyseley.
We would ask you please to keep to authorised walkways, not walk between the tracks, and please follow the instructions of stewards at all times for your safety.
And on the passenger running lines, the points are always clamped for safety, as Bernard Rainbow, in charge of operations, demonstrates.
I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a bugbear, but there you are. If you don't do it, they say you can't run.
But light engine movements are exempt from the rule, and Mr. Rainbow takes advantage of this to perform some speedy manoeuvres with the pannier tanks. The leading engine, number 7760, also came to the museum from London Transport as number L90 and is being shunted for one of Tyseley's turntable demonstrations. Castle class number 5080, Defiant, recently rescued from Bury for restoration at Tyseley, looks on as the two panniers enter the original turntable. There was once a complete roundhouse here with the turntable in the centre, and it's hoped eventually to rebuild it and recreate the atmosphere of a mainline steam shed. The tireless Bernard Rainbow, in real life a high-speed train driver on British Rail, takes a youthful volunteer back to the age of steam, the hard way.
The hard part now.
number 7760 is then shunted into place to complete the turntable display and is positioned alongside locomotive number 1. The locomotives now take their positions for the main event of the day, the formal opening of Tyseley platform. The station name board was ceremonially unveiled by Lord Gretton, guest of honour for the occasion. He's a director of the museum.
Thanks very much indeed, Lord Gretton.
Pannier tank number 7752 is now ready with the original inaugural train and makes a spectacular arrival that will be remembered in Birmingham for years to come.